Rev up your engines! Hey, with modern cars getting more and more complex, is it the end of DIY car repair for us guys? Well, I have to admit cars are getting more and more complex. Take this Lexus. Look under the hood. It's all covered with plastic. You can't even see anything. But that is just a cover. There still is an engine. Of course, it's got a cover on it too, with spark plugs, water pump. Still got a lot of common things in it. As time goes on, things do get more complex. So my old Celica, it's got a distributor, but the distributor uses magnetic field to fire the spark plugs. Before this, my old Ford Maverick, it had a set of points inside the distributor that would open and close to fire the spark plugs. And this Lexus, it doesn't even have a distributor. It uses ignition coils that are computer run. Each cylinder has its own ignition coil, and it's run by computer. Now granted, these are pretty reliable systems. They rarely break down on a Lexus or Toyotas, but scan tools can figure out what's wrong with them rather easily. These things can show you which cylinder's misfiring, how many times it's misfired, and you can get scan tools, really basic ones, for 25 bucks to something like this. It's a $199 one, but hey, it does a whole bunch of stuff that anyone can learn how to use. And when you consider that many places these days charge $120 per hour labor to work on your car, hey, that's not that much money. And realize that cars still have brake pads. They got water pumps that'll wear out over time. They get radiators that get holes in them, and you have to replace them. You can still do all this kind of work yourself. But of course, unlike the cars when I was young, like my 1970 Maverick, there are things that you're not going to be able to work on. Hey, it's stuff that even I hate working on. And that has to do with the increased use of computers in modern cars. Cars have what's called a CAN bus system today, Controller Area Network. This CAN bus system allows all the sensors and all the microprocessors inside your car to communicate with each other without having to use the main computer to help them. The main reason they use it is because it cuts way down on the wiring needed for a car. Instead of having to have each wire come from the computer to a sensor and back, then another computer and a sensor and back, they can talk amongst each other without having all that wiring. They use a CAN bus line for all that information. An analogy would be this fiber optic cable that used to send information to my house from AT&T until a squirrel chewed through it. Here's the chewed off end here. Just think about this fiber optic cable. It comes into my house. I can be watching an HD program on my giant screen TV and also recording 5 other programs on the same TV using the same line, while my wife uses the computer on the same line and my phone line goes through the same line. And there's still plenty of place left for more data. And even though most cars aren't fiber optic cable yet, their bus lines use various speeds. There's high speed bus, low speed bus. So all kinds of information can go on the same wire. So instead of having to have 500 wires in a car, they can use just a few that all this information goes back and forth on. And this has allowed a bit of insanity to occur in our cars. Many modern cars have 70 or more small computers, small microprocessors on them. So if something goes wrong in that system, whoo, good luck fixing that. And that's a big reason why never to buy a late model car that's been in a big wreck. Too many things can go wrong and nobody can ever figure out what's wrong. Or if you get in a wreck with yours, you might decide, hey, have it totaled and get another car. Don't attempt to fix a modern car that's been really wrecked because there's too much computer stuff going on, and figuring out what's wrong with it can be almost impossible. Now, I've got a lot of fancy electronic equipment, of course, but I've had cars that pretty much stumped me. They would give me a code for a low-speed CAN bus error, and in reality, it was a high-speed CAN bus error, but the way that the software was set up, it confused the computer, so it tripped codes for a completely different system than what was wrong with it. And realize that most computer systems on cars these days are working on a 5-volt reference signal. They don't have that much power. 5 volts isn't that much power. And to top that off, they only use milliamps of power inside that. So there's very little amperage. That tiny amount of power. If there's a problem in one of those systems, whew, it can be near impossible to trace down where the fault is coming from. Because if you think it was bad working on the old-fashioned systems that were 12 volts and had a really hard time finding the source of electrical shorts in a 12-volt system that's running maybe 400 amps. Imagine what it's like to find a fault in a 5-volt system that's running 20 milliamps. It's very hard to do. So in this respect, some of the stuff on modern cars, it is not made for do-it-yourself guys. But look on the bright side. Do-it-yourself stuff, there was always a lot of stuff you couldn't do yourself. Hey, you didn't have a tire machine, you couldn't put your own tires on, or balance them, or do front end alignments. There's still stuff that you can do though. And with the internet, you can find information easily. You can even find tools that you need to work on computer systems that cost a lot less because they're aftermarket. A lot of them are made in China, but they work quite well. As an example, I've had scan tools from China that cost me $800, but they had software that if I would have bought individually for all the different companies would have cost me well over $100,000. And you'll find that in the internet there's nerds/mechanics, and they don't like people getting ripped off either. So if there's a problem, say, in an anti-theft system in a car, they'll figure out a way that you can bypass that system to drive the car without having to spend a fortune to replace a lot of computer components. So don't give up if you're planning on fixing your own car. Hey, watch my videos, learn a bunch, and use your brain. It's a pretty powerful device. It's still smarter than the computers in these cars. And since this is the Thursday segment where I answer a viewer's question, place your own question on the YouTube comments below, and I'll pick the best ones to make a single video to answer your questions. So where else can you find a guy with 50 years experience of fixing cars to answer your own question with a video? So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.